Hi, Chris.
Hi, Christina.
How's it going?
I'm doing really well. I am calm. How about yourself?
I'm very calm and I've been looking forward to this all day. And I know a little bit about your Thanksgiving, but if you could sum up your Thanksgiving in 3 words, what would it be?
Going back home.
Oh, yeah, I guess go ahead and tell all the news if you're going to go that far.
Yeah, I think, well, today we put the place in San Luis Obispo back on the market, and we'll wait for a little divine timing to happen, and we're going to go get a house in Santa Monica and just dive in.
That's great. Well,
It's our 4-year
congratulations. What'd
plan.
you say?
It's our 4-year plan. We're going to get Hudson through high school in Santa Monica, and then we'll be, we're obviously debt free with cash in pocket and figure out how we want to spend the rest of our lives traveling.
Ooh, it's great. So it's 4 more years, right?
4 more years.
Excellent. Well, I do want to say congratulations because it's a big decision, especially financial decision in California when you're moving around within the state of California. So welcome back. You're going to be an LA County neighbor again.
Yes. Yeah. But it's been a great place to ride out the pandemic and certainly picking up some lessons. And who knows? I mean, lots can happen, between now and February. So
Well, I'm definitely going to come to see you guys in Santa Monica for sure. I think I haven't been to Santa Monica since I first arrived here in February of 2017. 2017? No, 2018. 2018, yeah. February 2018, last time I went to Santa Monica. And everybody says it's such a great place. I only went to the pier. I wasn't that impressed, but again, I just kind of saw the pier. And yeah. So I'm going to
it's like
rely on you
long,
guys. I'm going to rely on you guys to kind of help me get a better experience of Santa Monica.
well, there's lots of little pockets. And yes, it's very much like going to Chicago and judging it based on Navy Pier, right? There's a lot
Oh,
more.
very true. Yeah.
But you're not judging, and I get that. So
Yeah.
how was yours? 3 words. How was your,
Three
how was your
words. Hectic, fulfilling, and restful.
oh, there's a precocious little smile there too.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. I
Did it feel indulgent or what was the why?
well, hectic because I volunteered to help cook a fusion Thanksgiving meal with the Israeli family that I work with, and which was a huge success. But pressure, turkey, first turkey. I was calling all the relatives. Usually my dad would be a go-to. My dad has passed, so of course I went to the second best, teacher for that, and that would be his mom. But I got through it. It was a little dry, but my gravy was bomb. I would put it against my own father's if he were still alive. And I would probably put it against my grandmother's too. Sorry, Grandma. It's very true though. But fulfilling because it was a pleasant surprise to work on myself. I did a lot of work on myself, but also to be around a lot of loving people, which wasn't a lot because it's quarantine, right? But these people I actually kind of am around. It's kind of the people in my circle anyway. I was supposed to be in New York, but I wasn't, and this was the second best thing. I was pleasantly surprised. And then
Great.
I said restful because I think after Thanksgiving I slept pretty much all day on Friday and Saturday,
That's remarkable.
and I don't take naps, so I guess I needed it, and it was wonderful.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, you light and sprightly. So well done.
Aw,
I'll,
thanks.
yeah.
I bet your wife has got a little bit of a case of twinkle toes right now too, right?
Lots of twinkle toes. Yes. Yes. She's in a good spot. So
Well, good news all around. So let's talk about our topic for today. I'm going to let you kick off the party of receiving. You just gave me the word receiving. And I'm intrigued.
So Thursday night, we're having a couple bottles of wine. We're with our quarantine family in Santa Monica, the families and friends that we had quarantined with before, and we could test on the way in. It was negative. We're quarantining again here in San Luis Obispo until we get our test results back tomorrow. We're being as safe and responsible as we can be, but not cloistering ourselves in the closet. And so my relationship with alcohol is interesting, right? And but I got a text message from a coworker on Thursday night while we're having dinner. He's like, "I'm so grateful for you, and and all the help, and da 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 da." And I read it, and it was so heartfelt and so sweet. And I was like, oh. Like I had a visceral reaction to getting this text message from a coworker on Thursday night. And I'm not blaming alcohol for my reaction, but it certainly removed certain layers or certain mindful filters and went straight into this. So I spent the next couple of days while meditating or just noodling on this. Like, why did I have this reaction? Right? What is this drudging up for me that where I feel like if it's an obligation to work on a holiday or it's a peer or someone's genuinely saying, hey, I know it's a holiday, but you're important to me. And I just want to let you know that I'm really grateful for you. Right. And that's where I landed. So it's what I want to talk about today, with your permission, is receiving. Now, I'll give you a little story as to how and why this has been a trend for me since as long as I can remember. And if my dad's listening, he may get a kick out of this, or he may be like, what the fuck? So
either way, it sounds fun. Let's do it.
All right. So Christmas for us growing up, because my family had a bakery, we finished school, and then like the next day, or the next night, because it's a coal-fired oven, we're working that night until Christmas Eve at the bakery, going in at 9, 10, 11, 12, 1 o'clock at night, and then working until 8, 9, 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. And so you weren't really a McCann until you had dreams about loaves of bread chasing you around the bakery.
Nice.
So I remember telling it to my uncle, and he's like, now you're part of the family, right? He's like, you don't know what happens. But it was really special because we always had family and friends would come in and pitch in, because they're selling, tens of thousands of loaves of bread and baked goods and babkas and all sorts of things. So it was cool to see extended family and have them come together. Then we'd all go to church. We'd fall asleep in church usually, but Christmas was always really, really special for me because it had all those feels. It was less about the birth of Jesus. That was the backdrop. But it was always around food, laughter, card games, and family and friends, as long as I can remember. My dad's family was great, aunts and uncles. Now, somewhere along the lines, I picked up this anxiety in general, and I would get so nervous about being disappointed with what other people would give or gift me. Right. So what if I don't like this toy? What if I don't like this sweater? I mean, this was like a thing. Like I'd sit there like, no, go ahead and open up. You go first. Like, I mean, this would just build and build and build and build. And like, I didn't want to be disappointed. I didn't want to like it. And I didn't want to fake a reaction. Right. And I'm going back to like when I was like 6, 7, 8, 9 years old. So this receiving thing, it's been an issue. Now, to the point where I would, in the middle of the night, or at least what I thought was the middle of the night, go under the Christmas tree at home, open all the presents, remove the tape, look at them, not my sisters and my brothers, but I would look at mine and open them up, only so that I could manage my own expectations.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow, this is deep. You're right.
And so this was all fun and games. And like, there was one, like my sister, my mom's sister, like gave us one Christmas gift in all of her life. And she was kind of in and out. which was like these little like radio Walkmans. So for about 2.5 to 3 weeks before Christmas, I would go out there, open it up, take it out, and then go listen to Christmas music at night, and then go put it back. And then, that was probably like 11, 10, 11, 12, something like that. And so, but I would always know on Christmas morning, like what I was getting. And I always felt better, like waking up, like, okay, all's well. Now, we also would do family gifts. So my parents would do one gift from Santa Claus for the family. And there's like a shirt size box. What's what we call the donut box, because that's where we put the donuts in.
Oh yeah,
And
that kind of box.
right, yes, and it was really like heavy, and it was like I was like moving it around, like, oh, this is dense. Like I wonder what I could not figure out what it was. So I'm under the tree, pull it out, and lift the cover, and in it is a crucifix. And I was like, like, oh my God. Like I am for sure, for real, is going to hell. This is what I get. I'm gonna be punished. Like
You got caught.
oh yes, and Jesus was just wagging his like finger off the cross, and yeah, it was bad. So, so there's been quite a bit of psychotherapy like around this, but I know it sounds awful, but my anxiety, this is where it would really perpetuate was, and I love to give gifts, like giving really heartfelt things to my sister and to my brother, and we had those little things at school where you'd go and take $3 and go buy something, right, for your family, buy something for your mom, your dad, and I always love that. And then making things by hand, I would draw pictures. I was drawing the Christmas cards. Like I love giving, and I love seeing the reaction and the joy. Far be it though for me to receive. So yeah, well, I have lots of that. I'd love to pick your brain on around this, but I'll stop talking for a second and check in with you.
Wow, that's really interesting. First of all, I had no problems accepting any Christmas gifts, that's for sure. uh, I was very gracious, definitely. But yeah, wow, I can't believe that for you, that you had that experience. So this is interesting that you brought up the word receiving, because in the future, I'm going to speak about this on one of our podcasts, but I'm receiving some treatment right now, and there is a support group element to it. And so I'm in a support group. And one night, a couple of weeks ago, one of the therapists gave us each 2 Post-it notes, and they're about 8 people in the group, and then the therapist. And on each Post-it note, I had one person's name out of the group. So just 2 out of the whole 8, right? And she said, you need to write, what was it? It was three pieces of feedback based on the experience of what they've shared in the group. And then one thing to work on for each of the Post-it. So each of the people that I got, right? And everyone was very similar. Everyone just completely almost stressed out to give the perfect like statement. So we asked the therapist, we're like, well, what are you expecting from this? Do we just write a sentence? She's like, it's open. I'm not giving you guidelines. It's just, those are the guidelines. So do what you will, right? And so, of course, I want to do a very good job on it, because that's how I do everything. I'm just like throwing myself into it, right? And these 2 people in the support group have added so much to the group itself. And I really wanted to convey that appreciation that I had for them and what they've shared and what they've been working on to them, like very descriptively. I really wanted them to feel something when they read it and to be encouraged, right? So I did it. Everyone else that was also struggling. Most people were struggling. And so finally the therapist is like, 5 minutes left. Come on, guys, let's go, So finally, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, she takes all of them up. And all she does is just walk around and she sticks them to the people in the group. So I got 2 Post-its, both from different people anonymously, right? One from someone else, one from, like, I got two of them from two people, right? One person each. And when it came time to receive my own Post-its with 3 things each and one thing that I should work on, I was so uncomfortable reading them. First of all, they were so compassionate and so observant and so well thought out and considerate and beautiful and very I was very honored to receive these. That there's nothing wrong with it. In fact, it surprised me very much. I didn't dread looking at the actual Post-its because I wasn't like, oh, what are they going to say? That's bad. It wasn't that at all. It was like when I was reading them, I was like, oh my gosh. And I had a very big problem with taking these compliments, taking this feedback. And the one thing that I had to work on, like, because I got two of them, because I have two Post-its, they were both very caring and the things that I'm kind of already working on anyway, in a way. So they just, yeah, it's almost like a well wish from the both of them. I was so uncomfortable. And so then the therapist, she did this on purpose, and she went around the room and asked everybody, how did you feel at this part, this part, this part, this part? When it got to me, my hands were just like, fidgety and everything. And I was like, I have a really hard time accepting these things from somebody else. It's like too giving. I can't receive these compliments, these well thoughts. And I said, I don't understand why I cannot, because I do have a high self-confidence. I have been a very high achiever in my life. And you don't become a high achiever from thinking you're a bad person or, having a low opinion. I could be wrong. But to me, I already thought that I have a lot of great things about me. But just hearing it from someone else is just like so cringy for me. And so that's something I'm working on, is receiving when I'm giving a lot. And I've noticed that trend all my life. I've improved upon that trend where I give more than I receive. And sometimes way, way, way overgive and under receive completely, or not receive anything at all and be fine with it. And there are times in my life where I was like, wow, I got nothing for that. Well, I should be thankful, blah, blah, blah. I did what I wanted to do, but I didn't get anything for that. And then I started to feel like, you know what, I do want something. So things are changing for me. I can't hear you.
Sorry, this is interesting because I want to spend time. I think it's worth spending time talking about not giving. And was it the Bible says God loves a cheerful giver, right? Or is it just it's better to give than receive? And that's just the mantra that I grew up with. And this is an overarching theme and a lesson, or one of the lessons for me to work on in this particular lifetime, without a doubt. Lots of work around this. And I would I'd put other people's goals for me way ahead of my own, because it gave me an opportunity to displace, maybe not responsibility, but to at least assign blame to someone else for things not working out the way that I would want them to, or to my advantage.
Oh, no, that's a statement. Yeah.
In relationship with other people, like, well, no, like, this is what you wanted to do. You wanted to buy this house, or you wanted to go here, and all right. Right. So I would feel like I'm giving, but it would almost be with this caveat that if it doesn't work, then at least I can not be responsible for it. And it's not something I would have recognized or been able to say, even a few years ago or a couple of years ago. But one of this relationship between giving and receiving, And throughout most of my life, I've had such an overwhelming ability and desire to give that I was always sacrificing myself. And I've lost out on a lot because I haven't been able to find that neutral point when I give and when I receive. And everything's about balance, right? And that's just how the multiverse works. And this message is really about learning to stop giving when you know it's not in proper balance for you or for myself to do so. Recognizing that the boundaries that we require to harness this energy for ourselves, right? You put on your own oxygen mask first before attempting to assist others.
Oh, yeah.
You don't need to waste any more lifetimes learning this lesson. And my hope is that this is the life experience where first I open up to receive, and then if it feels good, give.
Even just you talking was kind of triggering about that, because it definitely is an override on my system. But you're right. I think that we do have a society that overemphasizes over giving and not maybe receiving as much as you need to be supported so that you can give to others. Do you know, like, it's always like a mom problem where moms like stop taking care of themselves to take care of their children or their families, etc. I'm not a mom, but you always hear about how things just kind of fall down for them in order to raise a family. And that's great, but there becomes a point where I guess the belief of the other side is like, why are you doing that? Because if you just took care of yourself and asked for help and receiving support, and even the support of yourself, then you would have, first of all, a better experience, and second, it would make you feel better in order to serve others in a better way, to give more. So that, to me, you're right. It's the right way. It's the right way forward. And it's not that we're a bunch of selfish assholes at all. Because some people are like, well, if you don't give, you're just a selfish asshole. One thing that's kind of my pet peeve, I grew up in the South. I grew up in Tennessee. And, not to knock the South or anything, but, you will go to the South. Have you been to the South? You've been to the South, right?
No, I mean,
Okay.
well, no, actually, I really haven't. Like, other than Florida, I've been able to avoid, and Tennessee, I don't consider to be the South because it's like it
Oh,
was drivable from Chicago. But I do consider like Jackson, Michigan to be the South, right? And for different reasons. But a lot of
oh.
but people would come up from the auto, like from the South to work in the auto industry. And so they still maintain the Confederate flags, the
Oh
draw.
my.
Oh, yes. Yeah, still very much a real thing. So while I haven't been to the South, I feel like I grew up there.
Okay. All right. Well, anyway, the South that I'm referring to, which is Tennessee, and a lot of areas, I, for example, you go to, let's say, Cracker Barrel for breakfast, and there's a guy going in before you, like a man, and he opens the door for you. Okay. And this has happened to me here and there. I'm just giving an example, but I know this has happened because it is on my mind. But, and I go through the door. If I don't say, why does he want to open the door for me? Well, he's already going through it, and it's the polite thing to do, right? To open the door so I can go first, ladies first, I guess. I don't know. But I know, I understand the intention. But there comes a point where people are giving in order to receive something back. And let's say that I walk through the door and I don't say thank you. I don't acknowledge that he's done this good deed for me. He'll say, well, you're welcome. He'll say something snarky back. Again, just an example, but it has happened. I know it's happened. I've kind of pushed the exact situations out of my brain, but it's something similar to that. It's where then it becomes, they didn't open the door because it was polite. They opened the door so they could feel good and get some acknowledgement and feel validated. And that's where it's very tricky to say no more giving, just start to receive and not be an asshole. I think the asshole way is to give in order to receive, you know?
Yeah, and so giving only when it feels good, or being open to receive, taking a step back, is being in a position to where when someone gives you something, where you acknowledge that, one, it's giving them an opportunity to feel good, right, and to express their consideration, but also that we on the receiving end are actually worth that consideration. And this has been, and so I would get, to bring this into a more spiritual or quantum field or Akashic field perspective, I would get these holes on my right side. And it was like I was in a master class for a few months at one point a couple of years ago. And I sat there and I would sit there in meditation and try and figure this out. And the message was around, that's when I would need to step back. And that's when I would have to hold myself back from giving. So it was like a sign from, whatever version of myself, to just be more mindful and considerate and take pause and say, okay, right, does this actually feel good? Am I doing this for the right reasons, to be able to give? And still didn't quite check the receiving box, but it's like walking with a limp, right? There's something that's just not totally in alignment when we don't have this balance and this discernment that we can apply. And and so the discernment is something that we could talk about as well. And does it feel good to give? And you give only when it feels good and right, not because of some other obligation or some other attachment. It can be this balance of yin and yang, or divine feminine and masculine. There's all sorts of, extrapolations and metaphors that we could apply to this. But when you just view this as an energetic system and a balance that exists in the world around us, and if you give, we're going to develop other symptoms in our physical body, right? Because we're out of alignment, we're out of whack. And this forced exercise has really allowed for me to not get so many pulls on my right side. I don't catch it all the time, but at least now it's much like meditation, I suppose, where just catching your thoughts drifting is really the meditation itself, or you can pull yourself back. I don't know that I would have gotten that text message on a Thursday night and spent a couple of days reflecting on it and trying to extract some meaning that I could then apply that didn't exist.
Yeah. Alignment. So while you're talking, I started to think back at times when I was actually open to receiving in my life without giving. And those times, I think the only times were when I was traveling. So what does that say about me? I think it says that, well, when I travel, I definitely think I'm being myself, because I'm wired to travel. I travel all over the place and I've done it for quite some time. And I feel like myself when I'm traveling. And so does that mean that I'm more open to receiving? I think so. I'm so open to receiving. I have gotten so many benefits from other people's generosity when I've traveled, from strangers to friends to family. And I have no problem taking it. If I meet someone new and they invite me back to eat with their family, heck yeah, I'm going to go eat with their family. One of the best experiences of my life, well, there have been a lot, but one of them, right, was when I lived in Seoul. I decided to visit China, and I don't like to go into a country unarmed with some basic language. So I found this exchange student on the internet from China who I would meet in a coffee shop, and he would teach me basic shopping Mandarin and enough to get around and how to read which one is like the girls' restroom symbol and everything. So, I can actually go to the restroom and things like that. And we got on very well, and he invited me to his village for the esteemed Chinese New Year, which is in usually January or February, it depends. It's a lunar thing, right? And of course, I was like, heck yeah. And when I went, first of all, I did bring gifts. I brought gifts that represented me. I brought some Korean things, but I also brought some American things. I went home for Christmas and I brought things back for the intention of bringing to them. Not too many things, just a couple of things, right? And I was the guest of honor in the entire village. And it was just like feast and feast and feast. Well, first of all, they eat like that anyway, because for 2 weeks they celebrate. This is their big holiday, right? So for 2 weeks, but they started buying special food for me. They had everything ready, and I was all about receiving, and I did not feel bad about it. I felt very honored, and I just soaked up all the generosity, and I soaked up all the learning. I was in a village 45 minutes outside of Qingdao in the dead of winter. The bathrooms are a hole in the dirt outside. And when you pee, the steam comes up and smacks you across the face. And they're used to going to the bathroom in the dark. But they were like, yeah, go outside if you got to go to the bathroom. And it's in the middle of the night. And I'm just like, I can't see anything. I'm like, do you guys have a flashlight? Like, oh, well, we'll take you. So I was like, but don't stand there. I've got so many stories of China. They have no bathroom shame whatsoever. Like, I've peed in front of I've peed in front of a lot of like people, crowds, audiences, everything in China. But anyway, my point is that it was just a big celebration all week, and I had no problem with it. I brought a couple gifts. So do I have to freaking travel all the time to feel aligned enough to receive nice things? I mean, I do the same if people come to my place, but not in that way. That was over the top, but I didn't feel bad about it.
Yeah, it's funny. I wonder what that is, where you feel most in balance, because you're vulnerable, right? You're sitting on a bench with 5 other people that are smoking cigarettes, going to the bathroom, right?
Yep. No, there's no bench. You have to do the Asian squat, just saying.
I guess I had it fancy when I was on a bench. It was in an office building, but yeah, that's really interesting.
A bench. Wow. Yeah, I want to talk about that one time with you in the future.
Yeah. So giving only when it feels good. That's
Well, then I think, when do I give? When do I overgive? I think it's an anxiety thing. When I have high stress, high anxiety, I overcompensate by giving too much, whether it be a physical thing or my time or my service. But then there's also a loyalty issue that I have, where it's like, well, I committed to such and such and I have to do it. And that's giving, even though I don't want to do it,
and so receiving is an interesting thing too, right? And maybe this will resonate. And it's, is there something that you're receiving that feels energetically depleting, or it does come with some sort of an obligation, or it does feel heavy, like it's taking away from you or distracting you from what feels better? It's our responsibility to tune into what we want to be around and the frequency that's going to make us feel good. Just because it's there doesn't mean you have to accept it. And this discernment around what we want and don't want to communicate or interact with, and having energetic boundaries around it. This is, and I'm really interested in getting your thoughts, because I'd like to have a couple of practical tools that we can share with others. Yeah. But how would you then discern Christina King, if something that you're receiving is something that you would actually be willing to take on. And particularly because of the energetic work that you do and having like all sorts of energies knocking on your door, how do you filter it?
That's interesting. That's been a work in progress. So spiritual side, I've got the most handle on. It's the human side, maybe I don't, right? I definitely, well, spirits, I kick them out all the time. And I set the boundary like, nope, you're not coming in my house, right? I'm always open to my own communication because I kind of invite the other side, I guess, or the realm of Akasha and my spirit guides. I'm always open to them because I'm always working and thinking about myself, right? So we're all a big team. I'm pretty much always open. Sometimes it's my own thought, but usually they put it in my mind. So yeah, that's how that works. But as far as working with other people, that's a little hairy because up until this point, I've had some, let's say, unwanted visitors in a lot of my meditations where I mean, just an example, a friend of mine, her Chihuahua passed away. 3 days later, I'm in a meditation about me working on my stuff and the dog shows up. So there's a part of me where it's like, how do I handle this?
Right.
She's a friend, of course. I messaged her right away and I said, your dog is here. Would you like to hear from him? You know, but I also had a grandmother of my friend pop in. She completely hijacked my dream the entire night. She hijacked it and then in the morning, I just felt so disconnected and I checked in and I was like, why do I feel so disconnected? Oh my gosh. I think my friend's grandmother is coming through and that's why she planted this dream. And sure enough, she pops right up right when I acknowledge her. I'm just like, oh my gosh. So, you know, it's a work in progress because how do I stop always receiving information? And then there's also a promise that I've made to the universe because I have been put in this position. I take it very seriously. So when things do come through, I feel a high sense of responsibility to tell about it and report it, right? But then there's a part of me that doesn't need to be doing that all the time. And I'm talking, this is just with friends and family right now.
Yeah.
So that's good. It's not about strangers. I'm not going to the butcher and like, your grandma's here, you know? So that's good. But as far as me receiving, a long time ago, I used to feel obligated to answer the phone, to answer a phone call. And then I just started avoiding it like the plague. Because that's receiving. Because in my thought process for that was if it and then caller ID changed everything. If someone's calling me, what do they want?
Mm-hmm.
What do they want from me? Now, because I am who I am, I'm often the first friend everybody calls because I'm supportive and I listen very, very well. And I usually do have a little insight. And even before I was very active spiritually, I had a lot of insight on things. So of course, being a nice person and supportive, you know, that's very attractive. I'm always the first friend that people call. Very interesting enough, right? 2 months ago, maybe my best friend was requesting that I call her and I knew what she wanted. And I just honestly started avoiding her. I'm avoiding my own best friend. Now I had been through her divorce with her and she tells me, and I agree, I was a big support, probably the best support that she had through that time. And that was like a 1.5 to 2 year process. Well, here she was needing me and I had my own issues. And this is right before I started to receive treatment for my own things. And finally, I'm like, you know what? How do I solve this problem? Because I can't handle this. I can't handle receiving another phone call. And there were all of a sudden other friends and family were calling, and what felt like dumping on me. And I'm like, wow, what a bitch. One part, you know, it's like, here I am, like a terrible friend because I'm feeling so repulsed by all of these people bombarding me. And then I was like, you know what? No, I don't feel repulsed. I shouldn't feel repulsed. I'm the one that needs a little bit of space here. I'm always there for everybody else. And I need to be honest about that. And I don't want to say, you know what, why don't you give it to me? It wasn't like that. It was just like, I'm sorry. I'm at a point right now where I cannot take on anything outside of myself. I adore you, I love you, but I'm unavailable to be supportive at the moment. I'm so sorry. I know I will be in the future, but this is the situation. And once I started to kind of be honest about that, everyone was so understanding. Because again, these are people that are in my life that I care deeply about, and they care deeply about me. A lot of them did apologize. Oh, I didn't mean to put you in the spot. But that's the first time I ever kind of quote pushed back. And I was very compassionate when I did it, but I was just very honest and just laid it out. So as far as people requiring me of listening or helping them, I'm learning and I've made some progress. I'm pretty proud of it. What about you? Do people, because of who you are, does this like similar thing happen where you just kind of become the person, the go to? I can imagine you do though, but there's also, you're pretty authoritative with yourself, I feel.
Well, yes, and that's interesting because I've actually thought about that, and not even on the, so certainly on the giving aspect, because I would, and in retrospect, me focusing on other people and their situations gave me an excuse to not clean up my own shit. And
Oh, that's wow, that resonated. Keep going. Sorry.
yeah, and so I got chills thinking about that. And
Yeah.
but yeah, like of course, like what do you need? You want me to come over? I'll bring a bottle of wine. Like, yeah, let's talk. Like whatever you want to do. Um, it would give me, and then it's like, well, I'm helping people. So I had operated under, and I can't remember which motivational speaker this was, but it's like, in order for you to get what you want, you have to give or something like that. Um, and in order to, yeah, I wish I could think of that, but it was like Og Mandino or Norman Vincent Peale or something. But if you give people enough of what they want, they're going to get what you want, right? And that's not exactly how it works. You're going to get what you need, right? Which could be in the form of a lesson. Which in your case, as you were talking about your situation with your best friend, we have all these teachers that we've contracted with coming into this particular lifetime. It's like, oh, you want to work on this? Okay, well, I'm going to keep pinging you until you learn your lesson and take your licks, right? And so then of course, when you actually put up boundaries, like, oh, we totally get it. And then at some level, right, like, okay, good. So we're done with this lesson. Let's turn the page and move on to the next one. But yeah, for me, it was just a huge distraction where it just gave me an opportunity to not have a very examined life and lifestyle. Now, I probably take it too far to the other degree. Like, well, I'll hear from people. I'm like, nope, got to go meditate, right? Or nope, I'm gonna go stare at the stars. Or nope, I just took a micro dose. It's my time. Um, so and but that is important for me to have those boundaries and this level of awareness. And even just talking through this with you, it does come back to balance, right? And this connection. I had a friend of mine reached out to me today that I've known for well over 10 years. And he's like, I just miss talking to you. And I haven't responded to him yet. Um, and I know that I would and I should, but there's still this part of me. It's like, okay, I want to make sure that I contemplate it and I give only when it feels good. Like, it's not that I have to be in a certain place in life, or it has to be, which was a thing for me as well. Like, if I was stable and happy and things were moving, then I could interact or engage with the world. But if my stuff was falling apart that day, that week, that month, that year, then I wanted nothing to do with it. But I probably have taken this discernment too far.
No,
But then
not at
somebody else
all.
reached out to me today, and Helen texted me, and I'm like, oh, Helen, like, let's talk. We haven't talked in a while, right? And she's just a dear friend. So, um, Yes, so this comes back to, I don't know if I've ever shared this, do you have a visitor?
No,
No,
my cat just
Chihuahua
fell out of
again.
the my cat just fell out of the closet. I don't know if you heard the thud. That's why I was like, "What's going on?" Because I'm half mic'd here, or like, with the earbuds. Oh, here she is. But
Yeah,
go ahead. Sorry.
so, but it's discernment and balance and ease. Like oh, there's that fat cat. How you doing,
Yeah.
girl?
Meow meow.
Um, I don't know if I've shared this with you, but it's the like my breathe, listen, speak thing. So when I find myself triggered or like a Thanksgiving text or something at work, like how do you like field test this? And it's not like every time something pops up at work where I can just be like, okay, hold on a second, I'm gonna go sit on the patio and meditate. And no, that's not how life is. That's not how it's designed. So this breathe, listen, speak mantra that I received through the ether has been crucial and has helped me uncover so much more. So breathing, actually, we could talk about this in detail at some point, but breathing meaning just taking pause or catching yourself for a second, just okay. And then listening could be listening to somebody else, could be listening to your body, listening to your own reaction, listening to the voices in your head. It's just being sensory aware of the trigger or the action or the impulse. And then speak is like, well, maybe speak, but maybe it'll be words. I mean, there's a lot of forms of communication, but before engaging with the world. So as these things come up, it's like, okay, and just seeing how it fit and how it feels and fits inside. Um, the receiving is interesting. I made note of this last night when I was walking around. Um, but being open to receive could also imply that something is lacking or that we're at a deficit and something's missing or something's broken, something's wrong with us, and that somebody recognizes this and that's why they're giving us something. And so that's another thing that I've been thinking about and noodling on is this state of lack, right? Or even just in word choice in this perceived state of lack when it's not the reality of it. But it could be like feedback or advice or support or help or anything where it implies that you or Chris McCann is not capable on his own of solving this problem. And so being open to other people's support and help is something I'm much better at today than I was 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40 years ago. Um, but just being in a position where it's like saying thank you. Yes, of course I'll take your help. Thank you, because it probably feels good for them to be able to offer that. And if it feels good, right, I pause and breathe, listen, and then speak, then yeah, I will take your feedback or advice or support or help or constructive criticism because it's just going to make the experience better for me and for all of us.
Yes. Yes, all of that. Well, first of all, breathe, listen, and speak, right? I have them in the right order. That's something very profound that I'm going to give a try. But as far as receiving, because you lack something, what's interesting is when I started my treatment at the center, one of my first sessions with my own private therapist, she said, "Okay, who's on your support team?" Meaning any family, any friends, anybody that's like going to help advocate for yourself, as you undergo your treatment. And I was very confident and said, "No, no." She was like, "No." She was like, "Well, I mean, tell me more about your situation. Don't you have family? Don't you have friends? Whatever." And I'm just
Mhm.
like, "No, I'm my support. I really am." Now time has passed and I realized it's been a very vulnerable thing for me, but I realized that it's good to receive support. It's good to have a support team. And that means I have to receive. And that there's a vulnerability for me about receiving, especially that receiving help.
because
Mhm.
I've always been the ones like, I don't need any help. I can do everything by myself. So I have constructed this reality for myself where I don't need any help. I can do anything that I want. I can be alone. I can live alone. I don't need a man. All these things that I have hardwired myself to believe. Well, now I'm starting to look at those wires and understanding why I hardwired different ways of thinking. And a lot of it has to do with my past experiences, nothing traumatic, but just being in life where I had maybe an unsavory experience with something and I just said, you know what, I'm done with that. I ain't doing that again. Ha ha ha.
Mhm.
And so I constructed this reality. So now I'm unraveling and unfolding this reality. And I'm starting to understand that I can break those wires and construct new ones according to how I really am inside as a human. I'm absolutely off the charts, fantastic spiritually, believe me. But the human side of me is a deeply flawed, deeply deficient in a lot of things kind of character. And for example, one of the things, I haven't dated in quite some time, and there are a variety of reasons. But one thing I always joked about is like, oh, I don't need a man until I turn on the bathroom light to go to the bathroom at 3 a.m. and there's a roach. That's when I need a man, Like, damn it, that stupid roach. If I just had a man or someone here to kill it for me, cat, why are you still sleeping on the bed? Isn't this your job? Kind of thing. Why do I have a cat if you're not going to hunt roaches and protect me? That's your job. I give you everything else. You get one job. That's it. So I'm realizing now in my recovery that I am interested, perhaps, in pursuing maybe a romantic partnership in the future. Now, getting to a romantic partnership, that's a big thing. I mean, there are a lot of steps involved, including the first one is within me. And one of the therapists posed to me a question. Hey, why don't you write down what you want? And of course, your first instinct is like, physical attributes, great smile, compassionate, all those things. She goes, no, not like that. She said, what needs do you need met?
Yeah.
And that's how you find a partnership. It's kind of a give and take, right? And it's not like what I can offer the person or am I worthy enough? It's like, what do I want to receive? What is lacking where a really good partner could support me as that, as someone who maybe lives in my house and is a great partner. A partner is a team, you support each other. When one's down, the other one, puts on the jersey and goes out and plays for them, and there have been times besides the roach, like, when I'm like, oh, did I forget to turn off the hair straightener, like, oh, if only someone was still at my house. It's not the cat's not doing that yet. She can't check. So I joke, but it's very interesting that now I'm thinking in different terms. It's like, well, what do I want to receive? And I tell you what, that's the hardest list, because one side of me is like, I don't need anything. I can do what I want. I can buy my own diamond rings. Isn't there like a Beyonce song about that?
I'm gonna
You
defer
buy
to
your
a
own
different.
stuff and you're supporting yourself. It's like, I can support myself. I can support myself, but what needs do I not have met that I would love in a partnership? It's a hard list, and I will be honest, I don't even have one thing written down yet.
Well, I don't need to tell you this, but we'll share this with the audience. In order to start bringing things into reality, we need to, get those out there and write them down and articulate them and create them.
Yes.
But it also, in writing and putting these things out there, it does remove the ego. And it's one thing to have it in your head, it's another thing to put it down in words where you become your own editor, and this ability to reflect. So good luck to you on that. I think it's an amazing project.
Yes, project it is, and thank you very much.
So we're coming close to the end of this episode. I was thinking about a coaching client of mine where this was a very real topic for her a couple of weeks ago, and the relationship that she's in was in, and like, I'm doing all these things, I'm giving and giving and giving, but this person's not, not responding or not engaged. And then we ended up, doing some more work around her marriage for 10, 15 years, where she was married and then found out, I mean, she did everything for him. He was an artist, so she was the breadwinner, and he was dual residency between New York and Chicago, and then found out that he had a whole other life over there. So there's this. And so, giving and receiving, can just be patterns, and there are lessons available to us to be able to learn if and when we're ready to be able to do so. So this episode to me feels a little scattershot because there's so much to explore around the emotions and psychology and the spiritual awareness of giving and receiving. So both of us, both Christine and I, we work on this for ourselves and with other people. But if you had to give one little prompt or one little suggestion, Christina King, for self-examination or self-inquiry to the audience, what would that be?
Caught me off guard there because I was processing everything you were saying. So this episode to me is a wake-up call and a call to action all at the same time. And if I had one thing to say to anyone, I want to challenge you. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this myself.
Yeah.
Set aside the next week and just live with the intention of only receiving. I'm going to do that. I think that is the ultimate boot camp for this kind of barrier. And it is a barrier. It's a barrier with my clients. It's a barrier, especially with human side of Christina, that's for sure. And I think to understand what it feels like to actually allow yourself to receive and to be honored is a big step in the right direction. And now it's not going to solve, like, you're not going to automatically be the receiver of your dreams. Like, whoa, I receive everything now, I'm never going to give again. No, that's not the point. It's not to see what you can get. It's to see the mindset, the mentality, that the permission that you have to give yourself in order to receive. And then when you do receive, and you can ask, of course, but when you do receive, what does it feel like to you? And, is it a positive thing? Is it a negative thing? There's so many different emotions that could be going through your mind. And I can't even guess because I'm just one person. But if I had to guess, maybe vulnerability, maybe a self-worth issue going on. It could be a multitude of things. But yeah, a week of allowing yourself to live and receive.
I'm going to check in with you in a couple of days and see how it's going.
You should. Hold me to it, buddy. Yep.
I will. I think for me, and this feels very similar to the recommendation I gave to my client, I am worth celebrating. That keeps coming back. And that wasn't what I gave to her, but that's, I think having that statement on the front end will just start to chip away at any feeling of lack or not deserving this. And I am open to receive. I am worth celebrating. I am open to receive. I am worth celebrating. I am open to receive. And we all know that that is the top part of the onion, right? There's so much to explore there. But just stating that is going to create an awareness, perhaps, that doesn't exist for you today, and might lead to a little bit of self-discovery. And give only when it feels good, right? That's not part of the mantra, but just check before you do something. How does it make you feel? Where's it coming from?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Well, I'm going to incorporate your advice into my own self-challenge, because those are very good little mantras. I am worth celebrating and I am open to receive. Chris, thank you. As always, a pleasure. I enjoy them all, but I really feel like a little changed after our talk today.
Amazing. I think it just started with that hot pink triangle.
Da-da-da, da-da. Yeah, I feel like a triangle.
Always a pleasure. Much love. See you
Yeah.
soon.
Yep. See you soon. Bye.